Hi, this is Emily. Today I want to start a video series that will be covering the topic of food addiction as relating to myself. So my experience with food addiction, eating disorder or disordered eating, dependence on certain foods, yo-yo dieting, that sort of thing. Okay? I am going to start with my childhood and work my way up. And so this is going to be the first video, and so I'm gonna be talking about my childhood here. The reason I'm doing this is because I feel that, well, first of all, I'm reading The End of Dieting by Joel Fuhrman, and he talks a lot about food addiction and the things I'm going to be talking about in this series of videos. It's really made me think more about these things, and some memories have started to come back, which these memories I've been thinking about my past for a while now, since I've been trying to lose weight. And I feel that when something is really bothering you about your past, there's a couple really great ways to deal with that. First of all, you could journal, just to write down all of these memories that you have and use that as a way of healing yourself. And another thing you can do is talk about it. Spread awareness so that you may help other people in the future. So that's why I'm doing this. And my motivation to make these videos is 50% of it is to help myself heal, and the other 50% of this is to help others who may come across this video and want to watch it. I also want to say that if any of my family or my friends do watch this, I want you to know that I do not blame anyone for my actions. I take 100% responsibility for my actions and for my life. And so I'm sorry if this is a bit of a downer, but hopefully it won't be too much. So here we go. I was born in 1983. I was a fat baby. I continued to be overweight throughout my entire life. I have yo-yoed a lot throughout my life, and I find the older I get, the more weight I put on every time I yo-yo. But as I do look at pictures of myself from my childhood, I do see that there is a pattern where, you know, when I'm really little, I'm overweight, but like just mildly. And then, you know, throughout grade school, middle school, high school, it kind of gets worse, like weight-wise. You know, my weight goes up. You know, it's a slow, prolonged process, but I did get chubbier and chubbier. And I was 20 years old when I realized I was obese. And that's when I realized I really had to get serious and try to figure this out. But I'm going to talk about when I was younger. And so I think we'll see how long this video goes, but I may talk about, my next video may cover the age of 20 and on up. But we'll see how far I get with this one. So, like I said, I was always the fat kid at school. I was usually either the fattest in my class or one of them. And so that does mean I was picked on a little bit here and there, um, usually by boys. And um, that was painful to go through, obviously. Um, but um, so I remember, sorry, I'm just trying to think what's the best way to put this out there. But I remember, I had a very good home life, but we did have junk food in the house. And I do remember at a pretty young age starting to sneak food. Anything sugary, junk food is what I would sneak. I don't remember how old I was when that started, but I do remember sometime in grade school. I may have been like 6, I may have been 7 or 8. I just know that I started sneaking candy, that sort of a thing. I never like took junk food and brought it to my room and hid it. I never was doing that at that age. I did start doing that, but that wasn't until I was probably a teenager. Before that, it was more like I would go to the kitchen when no one was around and I would sneak food. I remember sometimes we'd have cookies or candy or Hostess pies, those hand pie type of things. I remember sneaking those. So this whole sneaking food thing happened at a very young age. And do I still do that now? I've been thinking about this today. Do I still hide food? Do I still do that? Sneak it? I don't think I do anymore. I need to think more on it because it's hard for someone who is addicted to a certain behavior. Sometimes it's hard to admit, and sometimes, how do you explain it? Sometimes you think you're over something when you're not 100% over something. And so I think at this point that I no longer hide food. But I do also think that it's such a strong addiction. For me personally, I'm not saying for everyone who does this that it's a strong addiction, but for me, it is such an addiction that is so ingrained in me that I could easily go back to sneaking food again. So I have to really watch myself. I have to be careful, and I have to remind myself every day why I'm doing what I'm doing. Pretty much every day, in order to continue to no longer do the food sneaking, okay? In fact, I will tell on myself. If I do go back, revert to a bad food-related behavior, I will tell on myself. Whether it's in this video or to my husband or something like that. So yeah, the sneaking of the food happened very early on. I just remember always really being into sweets. I mean, aren't all kids really into sweet candy and stuff? But for me, it was almost like I didn't want anything else. Just sweet junk food. That's all I really wanted. What's kind of weird, I don't remember what we ate growing up in my house. I don't really remember what were the common foods that we ate. Like for dinner, what did we eat every night? I don't really remember. There's a couple meals I remember that we had, but I don't remember, like, on average, what did we eat. But I remember that from a very young age, I didn't like the taste of meat. And don't try to tell me that meat doesn't have a taste, okay? Meat, all different kinds of meat, they all have a flavor. And am I the only one who can detect the taste? I know there are people who talk about how meat doesn't have a taste. It's the seasoning you put on it. No, meat has a taste. From a young age, I just really didn't like beef. Anything from a cow, anything from a pig. Didn't like the taste of it. And I don't remember how old I was, but I decided I hated mayonnaise. I never could drink milk. I never drank milk, ever. I don't think anyone in our family drank milk, though. I think that was kind of something none of us did. I didn't like eggs when I was a kid. So when I was in kindergarten, we found out I was dyslexic. Still am. I'm dyslexic. There you go. And not long after that, maybe I was still in kindergarten or first grade, ADD came up. I had ADD. And I remember the school counselor saying, Emily, you've got to have something with lots of protein for breakfast so that you'll be able to concentrate in school. And I remember this was a huge struggle for me because all I wanted for breakfast was toast or Pop-Tarts. Something like that, I didn't want eggs, and my mom, she tried to get me to eat eggs, and I never would do it, okay? I always thought it was gross. I just didn't like the taste, the texture, didn't like anything about it. So that's when I started eating a lot of cheese, like cheddar cheese, slices with crackers and stuff, and throughout the years, I got really hooked on cheese. Before that, I don't remember if I liked it or not, but I remember I learned to like cheese because that was a protein that I could have. So cheese kind of became my staple. I didn't like meat. I didn't really like vegetables unless you dump tons of butter on it and stuff. I didn't really like vegetables when I was a kid. I would eat a little bit of fruit, not a lot. I just didn't really like food. I liked candy, and I was addicted to it already. And I learned to like cheese. So I remember if I was up to my own devices, like if I was home alone or like if I was eating on my own, I would have like a piece of bread with cheese on it. And that was my meal. And I carried these habits into adulthood. When I was, I don't know, 7? Let's just say I was 7 or 8. I decided I loved pigs, and I wanted to decorate my room in pigs, and I no longer was going to eat pigs. Anything that comes from a pig, I'm not going to eat it. So I went on strike against eating pigs. And so I stopped eating anything that came from a pig unless I absolutely had to, like at a social occasion. I was a kid. If there was food and that's what I had to eat. But then it extended. I think when I was maybe 9, I decided I wasn't going to eat anything from a cow. And what really fueled this is because I had it was like a family friend, and we'd go to her house sometimes, and she was obsessed with cows. Like, she loved cows, and she would decorate her house with cows. Like, I remember she had wallpaper with cows on it, and she had, like, little figurines of cows throughout her house. And I thought, cows are cute. I don't want to eat cows anymore. Plus, I didn't like the taste of it. When someone, when we had beef, I would usually kind of push it around on my plate and not really eat it. So then I stopped eating beef, for the most part. So yeah, that left, and I wouldn't eat eggs. So that left, and I wouldn't eat seafood either. So that left poultry. Poultry was the only kind of meat I would eat. So I was basically eating bread, a little bit of poultry. I would get angry if it was more than just like maybe an ounce of meat because I didn't like the taste. So I was eating like bread, a little bit of poultry, every now and then some other type of meat, lots of cheese, lots of candy, cakes, cookies, whatever I could get my hands on, lots of soda. I didn't drink water. I mean, I wonder now, how did I live through this? How am I still alive? Seriously, like, how did I live through eating just those things? I hardly ate vegetables. I hardly ate fruit. I hardly ever ate, like beans and whole grains. It was just a lot of white bread and chips and stuff like that. So I just, over the years, I became really, really addicted to all of these foods. And at the age of 10, I started going to Weight Watchers. That was the first diet I ever tried. And, I lost some weight, but I couldn't stick with it because, I haven't kept up with Weight Watchers. I don't know what they're like nowadays, but I know back then you had to measure everything you ate. And I was 10. I didn't want to measure everything I ate. So that it didn't last very long. But, I tried Weight Watchers off and on throughout the years. I believe I tried it a little bit here and there, like throughout my middle school years, high school years. I didn't go to meetings, the Weight Watcher meetings, but like I would just kind of try the diet again and, never could stay on it for very long. So I ate kind of a vegetarian diet, but not really. I considered myself practically a vegetarian because I didn't eat cows or pigs, but I wasn't really a vegetarian, but I always thought of myself. A lot of people do think that if you don't eat beef, you're a vegetarian, and I kind of thought that, sort of. But there's such a negative connotation wrapped around the word vegetarian. It usually, if anyone talked about a vegetarian, it was the word vegetarian that would come up was usually kind of in a sort of negative context. So I was hesitant to label myself a vegetarian. Plus, I wasn't a real vegetarian. The Weight Watchers when I was 10, couldn't stay on it. Middle school, I think I tried it a little more a few times, couldn't stay on it, still overweight. High school, same thing. When I got a car, that was the next pivotal moment. When I got a car, that is when I started sneaking food to the next level. I took it to the next level of sneaking junk into my diet. And high school, my weight would go up and down a lot. And it's because I was mainly eating sugar from a package, like Skittles, Snicker bars, Blizzards from Dairy Queen. But when I got a car, a lot of times what I would do is I would go to the grocery store and I'd get candy and I'd bring it home, and I don't think my parents really knew I was doing this. So my mom would make dinner and I would eat only a small portion of it, and then I would go gorge myself on candy all night. Because I was really addicted. I mean, really. I didn't realize I was addicted. I didn't understand what was going on. But now looking back, I know that there was an addiction going on. And so I would do that. I would go, you know, when I was at high school, I could buy candy. When I got a car, I could go drive somewhere and buy candy and eat it for dinner, basically. And so my diet, my weight would just yo-yo like crazy. And um so the next level of hiding, sneaking food, I went up another level on that when I had a friend. I believe I was 16 because I know I had a car. I know I was driving. So I had to have been 16. And I had this friend who had some food issues. Well, she taught me how to binge eat. And I'm talking like we would have huge binging sessions. I have, just so you know, I have never talked about this with anyone in my entire life. But I had this friend, I had a car, I'd pick her up. She had an eating disorder and she knew she did. She was open about it with me. But when I'd pick her up, we'd go to the store. Like we'd go rent a movie, you know, like on the weekend, and then we would go to the store and we'd get candy and chips. And I'm talking like big bags of candy and chips, probably 1 or 2 or 3 bags of who knows what. And we'd bring it home and we would watch a movie or two and we would eat. It was like a race to see who could eat the most. And then honestly, I think that she was going to the bathroom and throwing it back up. I suspected this, but yeah, I don't know for sure, but I suspect that was what was going on there. And so she taught me how to binge eat. And I had never done anything like this before. And guess what? I liked it. You know, it was kind of our guilty, dirty secret. It was this binge eating thing that we did. You know, it was probably twice a month. Sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on what was going on in our lives. And it took me many years to stop doing that. That experience of the major like onslaught of binging food in one amount of time led me to do things like buy a whole bag, a whole thing of Oreos and eat the whole thing like in a 2 or 3 hour period. And that's just what I did. You know, it was normal to me, even though it made me feel so out of control. It got to a point where I couldn't stop. If I had a bag of Oreos sitting in front of me, I had to eat the entire thing. If I had a bag of Skittles, I had to eat the whole thing. No matter if it was a normal package or one of the bigger, like, you know, king size packages or whatever they call them. I couldn't stop. And I would sit there, you know, in my early 20s, I really realized this was a bad idea and I had to stop doing this. But I would sit there with this bag of candy or chips and I couldn't stop myself. No matter what I said or did, I would literally be, you know, I would enjoy eating it at first. And then after the first couple handfuls, I would start to feel like I need to stop now. Stop eating. Stop, stop, stop. I couldn't. I could not stop. And I would literally not enjoy it anymore. I felt depressed when I was doing this. I felt like out of control. I couldn't control myself until I finished it. It's taken me all of my adult life so far to get over that. I'm 31, and this has been going on for a long time. And I've just been able to start to control this. It's been less than 2 years. So, I've had ups and downs with it throughout the years. I've had successes and then went back to it. So, something like this can ruin your life. If you have this problem, you've got to figure out a way to stop. And the way I have been able to stop this behavior may not be the same way for everyone. But so anyway, I'm done talking about that for now. So I've got when I was a kid, I didn't like these certain foods, the beef and the pork and meat. I didn't like meat. I didn't like most dairy. I liked ice cream, of course. And I learned to like cheese during this time. And cheese is something that I became very addicted to. In case you don't know, cheese has a substance in it that is somewhat sort of like morphine. It's not the same thing. Please don't say cheese has morphine in it, because it doesn't. It has a substance that is sort of like morphine. And the theory is that this substance in there is what makes it addictive. So cheese is something that took me a year, almost a full year, just to get it out of my diet completely. And it didn't take quite that long, but the cravings took over a year to go away. And even now, every now and then, I still crave cheese. But the difference is the craving goes away now. I don't have to go get my fix, The craving leaves eventually, and so that has been a lot easier. The cheese, I would say, was a lot easier to get rid of than the sugar problem. The sugar, to get over I consider myself heavily addicted to sugar. That took me having to completely alter my diet to get over that. I had to find a diet that worked for me. For me, that diet was raw till 4. If I hadn't found raw till 4, I would still be addicted to it. And why are these sugary candies and like Doritos and stuff, why are these so addicting? It's because of MSG. And then sugar itself apparently is addicting. When it no longer has fiber attached to it, especially. So anyway, I kind of got a little off course, but that is about my childhood, what I've just said. The next video will be about after high school. Thank you for watching.